This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, it's another great publishing day. And with me, back again, which I am just delighted, is Anne Janzer, who is an author in her own right. She is the author of the Writer's Process, which is a book I recommend to all of you. And Anne and I talked about some overall editing-related things last time we had her on the show, and some things to do, a little bit, actually a potpourri, because she gets into some things like I do. She's a book coach. She works with a lot of nonfiction-related authors. And today we're going to do something that actually is dear to my heart. Actually, I did it this morning, Anne, which is called repurposing. All right, so that's one of the things I wanted to kiss on. And then if time allows, we're going to do some segueing and get into some critical components that both Anne and I see that seem to be the missing links. And I'm not going to do it singular, it's links. The ingredients for you to be successful in your book launching and what you're trying to do. And I think of all the things in working with authors and their publishing, the writing, and then the publishing, and then the launching, is they don't put momentum into their vocabulary. And it's really important for your success. So, Anne, let's just kind of go into the whole idea of repurpose. And what the thing that I did this morning was to tie it into is I revisited a blog I wrote 4 years ago and did a full gutting of it, a revamping, a re-update, and we'll be doing a push out later in the week on it. I mean, and there, to me, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel every week if you don't have to.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. I have to internalize that one a bit myself because, I've been blogging for a lot of years and, you think, oh, I've written about that. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Well, like even my mother doesn't read and remember every blog I wrote, right? So I think revisiting topics is a great idea. Like you said, not reinventing the wheel. And it's something that we lose track of because in our heads, we say, okay, I've covered that. I've written a blog about it. I'm done and I don't want to repeat. I think the other thing that's really important for us to remember is that, in our own lives, when we may hear somebody say something, and then we hear another person say basically the same thing, but in a slightly different way, and all of a sudden it sinks in. So, in fact, repetition, is you're actually doing a service to your readers by revisiting things that you've done before. Maybe put a little different, update it, put a slightly different slant on it, but yeah, you don't have to create something blindingly original every moment.
I think that's really important. Actually, two ways. One, you as the creator of whatever it is you're going to repurpose may have a different perspective on it now that you've been away from it for a while. And the second part is and what you're saying for the recipient who's reading it, I have had clients of mine and people who attend my own events say to me, I heard you say this 4 years ago. I heard you say this 3 years ago. I heard you say it 2 years ago. I heard you say it a year ago. And you know what? I finally get it. I get it. Yep. I get it. So never underestimate the power of repetition. I think that's just
right. I mean, they may not be. Maybe they weren't ready to hear it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe there's now some new connection in their life that made that make more sense now. So yeah, repetition is very important. And in the other place where so I hear this from authors who say, well, what am I going to blog about? I've written this book, but or what am I going to put in my newsletters? And it's like you have an enormous, rich source of content, which is to say, your book, right? Everything that's in there, right? It's like, hello, how many words are in there? And even if you're a fiction writer, there are scenes you've just started, there is research that you've done, there's things that you've thought about that are really incredibly rich sources of content. And maybe, you might have a deal with a publisher that says you can't give away more than 10% of the content or something in your book, but you can repurpose the ideas. That's, you can rephrase, you can rework, you can reuse those ideas in the book without putting them in the exact words that they are in your book. So,
well, Anne, not too long ago, I actually did a blog and gave them, I think, 52 plus a bonus ideas to blog on. I mean, I laid out the whole year for them, if that's what they wanted to.
There you go. I'll just point them to that blog going forward. That's it. We're good to go.
There, you're good to go. So I think that's really important for everyone to understand. You don't have to be super duper original all the time. So here's, I'll just add a couple of my own rules for repurposing. When you go back to old stuff, that to satisfy and to feed the SEO gods, Google and all its brethren, is that you need to change your title somewhat. You need to change at least the first 2 to 3 paragraphs and do some rewriting on that. If you have bullet points within your article of any sort, rearrange the bullets. So was number 1, move it to number 5. And so do a shifting, and you may have, as Anne and I were talking about, a different perspective, a different conclusion, maybe a different insight, a different aha as you exit. But you're talking about things that may take you maybe 15 minutes to put together.
Right.
And then that's voila. And then make sure you change your description in the internal backside of where your blog is carried. Mine's carried on my personally. I don't know, Anne, I'm assuming you carry your blog on your website too?
I do, yes.
Okay, so mine's all administered from the back end, so I do all the SEO tap dancing with a new description using your keywords, and make sure that you rearrange your keywords or add new ones if it's appropriate. But that's really how to do it.
And, I'm going to add one thing. That is brilliant advice. So I'm just going to add the mindset thing. Instead of thinking of this as a set of tasks I have to do, right? Mm-hmm. Think of this as it's like a puzzle, a challenge. How can I write a different hook, a different introduction that might be more interesting? And what happens, we'll see if it gets more traction. I mean, if we can take every little thing we do as sort of an interesting puzzle or a learning opportunity, then all of this book marketing becomes less of a chore and more of an adventure, right? Mm-hmm, which is going to be a lot more fun.
Well, I think so too. And I have to tell you, after I got through, like last week, I actually did a repurpose on something dealing with publicity and PR. And it was, are you a quacker or a peeper? So do you quack and do you shout out, or you go, no one's going to notice me? Which way are you going to go? And really, I had fun. I mean, when I can take something that maybe is 500 words and maybe just shift around 100 of them, that's kind of a happy dance for me.
Yeah. It's a chance to exercise your creativity, right there. So,
which I am all for. Yeah, well, I mean, we do all have to quack. And that's one of the huge pitfalls that we see all the time with authors, that they don't shout out. They have what I often call the school teacher mentality. Surely everyone will notice what a great job I do. So notice how dedicated and devoted I am. No, they won't. That's
so true. And I think that's another, that also plays back, Judith, into why we just kind of put things out there once. It's like, surely they noticed this brilliant post. It's like, no, they didn't,
No, it's long lost. Yeah. I haven't seen any stats recently with how many things are posted daily. I haven't, but it is beyond comprehension for any of us. You could probably go several times around the moon and back.
I think you're right.
There's your image with what's going on. So that means that whatever you put out a year ago is most likely lost in cybersea. Ooh, Anne, I have to write down. I've never used the word cybersea before. I mean, I know it's not a word, but I'm claiming it. And
it is now. It
is now. And I've written it down on our note page together. And I think it's important to take advantage of what flows for you. You know, and I don't know. We're about 2 minutes from our first break, Anne, but I maybe we can kiss on some methodologies for people to keep track of things as they're going through ideas. Because sometimes I think I have brilliant ideas or a really nifty word comes into play, and then I do other stuff, and then I've totally forgotten what it was. Do you ever do that?
Oh, all the time. And yes, this is a topic that comes up all the time. So, yeah, let's talk about that. I'm excited.
Yeah, because I think we all need help. We all need help as we go forward in this.
We've got so much going on, but also those good ideas, right? Those little bits of inspiration and creativity don't happen when we're sitting and working. Often they happen when we're in a state of what I call open attention. We're doing something else. We are ironing or driving to work or walking the dog, right? So we're not necessarily in a place where it's easy to make a note of them unless we set up systems and we are prepared to catch them when they come by. I've had situations when I call it, all of a sudden I get a brain goose, and I email myself. I'm on the phone talking to someone, and I will email myself a message. That's a good one. And another one is to just, if you have your phone handy, just use a little voice recorder, because you can put a little more context around it. If I jot down a few words, I may not always remember what those words meant, but if I say a couple sentences about it, it's more context.
But you know what? Let's come back to that. We're kissing right on our break. I would love to have people understand, because a lot of people do not use the microphone factor recording on their phones. We'll be right back. It's AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorU will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join AuthorU today through its website at AuthorU.org. Follow AuthorU on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at AuthorU, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. AuthorU, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, I love the casual conversation that I'm having with really a master book coach and writer. Really, she is a wordsmith in her own right, Anne Janzer, because this is where a little ideas juice off as we start chit-chatting with each other. And that one of the things that I came up with another one of my clients was, he was trying to say, hey, do you know about this way we can record on our cell phones? And I said, yes. Well, he has learned that he can actually do entire chapters on his cell phone when he's out walking, which I love. And it just goes right into a note deal that then he can convert into his computer. So here's what I want to say to all of you, that actually the dictation, and I'm not talking about autocorrect on your phones. Forget that one. I'm talking about when you actually dictate your voice into it and you're thinking, you're pretty clear. It is amazing to me how accurate it is, and comes across, and you could save and really save a lot of agony on your own side there. So
yeah, that technology is getting better, like month by month practically. I mean, it's really improving a lot. So if you tried it a while ago and you weren't happy, try it again, because you might be happier.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, certainly you can download DragonSpeak, something like that for your phone, but that's, that may be more complicated. I'm just going, if you go down on your phone, you just look for the microphone and you hit that. That's what we're talking about. And you can send yourself notes this way. You could have full scenes. I mean, he literally goes for a walk and comes back with the draft of another chapter. How cool is that, Anne?
Cool. Yeah. That's so cool. Because, often we are really creative, and when we're out walking, or, for me, my place I do my work is the, rowing machine. I do some great thinking on the rowing machine. So it's a win-win. I get a little bit healthier, and I think of some great ideas. But I'm at the gym, so I don't feel like I can dictate without getting some strange stares. But nonetheless, but if you find someplace, taking a walk, something that really kind of frees you from the constraints of, that inner critic, and lets you just kind of think creatively about things, then capture it. And speaking it out somehow captures it differently than trying to write it all down. You just let it, come out. So, yeah, you do that. Here's the thing, Judith. I feel like if you make a point of doing this, of saying, okay, I'm going to go for a walk and kind of ponder this, and the good ideas come and you capture them, then you are training that creative part of yourself to keep pitching in. It's like, look, I'm being valued. I'm going to do this again and again. So you actually can make this part of your writing process by consistently capturing those ideas and being intentional about that.
There is absolutely no question. And so, that's one of the tips from both of us. We're kind of on the same side here to really push it out. And help you out, but do take advantage of it. And the microphone, it's there. I'll tell you, it's on your homepage somewhere. You'll find it.
It's there. It's on the phone. Just look around. It's worth it.
Yeah. And you can just lots of clever things, but you can save it in your notes file, and then it's all there, and you can go back and just get it word for word. Or delete it, if case may be. All right, so Anne, what about some other things that you have on the repurposing side? Anything you want to add to what you kicked off there?
Well, I'm going to just say one thing, because this is something I've run into a little bit of resistance. either especially with nonfiction authors, all right? So this is who I'm really talking to now. So just the rest of you, just give me a moment. Which is this: is that nonfiction authors either want to tell you every darn thing that's in their book, right? Or they don't want to tell you anything. They want to make you go buy the book, right? They want to hoard the ideas, and so that you'll go buy the book. So they'll be resistant to share stuff, practices, ideas, techniques, and things that are in the book. And I think that whenever you make a decision like that based on a sense of scarcity, it's usually wrong. It's usually not in your best interest. I think if you share something wonderful that's in the book, and, some listeners may go, great, I'm not going to buy the book anyway, but that's a great tidbit. They weren't going to buy the book. The people that it really resonates with you, now you've given them something valuable, and they're much more likely to do that. Seth Godin, who we were talking about over the break, said something, and I don't know his exact words because he's always so pithy, but it was something like, people buy your book as a memento of the things they've heard you say or that they've seen you write otherwise. So if you switch your mindset and think about it like that for a moment, you might be more generous with all that great stuff that you've packed into your book.
And I can add this as someone who has that does a lot of media. I mean, over the years, I've done a boatload of it. That one of the things that comes out so often is that they don't want to do that little reveal of what the tidbit is. They want to force them to. And I remember I actually was interviewing, I had an author who was going to be part of a program, and that was on the show. And she says, well, you're going to have to come and find out. And I just said, no, you're going to tell them. You can't, right. That's a crappy tease. And what you do, I mean, to preface it, especially as someone who writes nonfiction, that's what I personally write, is that that you've got to, you can lead it with, there are over 50 insightful tidbits within the book. One that is really hot is this. So give them, just give it fully to them. When I do a Friday coaching, subscription coaching at 7 a.m. in the morning, my time. And when I came on last Friday, I always lead it with one or two really heavy-duty tidbits they can immediately implement before I open up to questions. So I always want to give them something from me that's new to them that they can do. And one of my participants was ready, and he held up my new book, How to Create the $1 Million Speech. And what he said is, I just want you to know that this chapter on contracts is worth its weight in gold. What you did in this chapter. And what I did, Anne, is I took my speaking contract, I put the formal language, that the attorney fixed and did, and then I went and explained why it's there and how you use it in our everyday English. So it really comes forward and works that way. So it really makes the difference on that. So those are the kind of things that, you could do. You could say, this is why you have this, whatever it is in your expertise. This is what it is. But, this is why. This is the rest of the story behind it. And I think that's what nonfiction is about. There's always the rest of the story.
Right. I mean, my nonfiction is, I've realized my pattern is me becoming curious about something, exploring it, and then sharing, the takeaways from it. So I have a boundless curiosity. So there's always more stuff to be curious about. But there's one other kind, and this is really interesting because what you said, you talked about, sharing tidbits in your subscription call. So the other thing to think about is repurposing across formats. A newsletter, a blog is not the only way for you to share your content. In fact, you'll reach more of the people who want to hear what you have to say if you maybe, do a podcast or show up as a podcast guest. This is very meta, what I'm doing right now, right? Book marketing doesn't have to be just writing. It can be, creating a course, or it can be, you can repurpose your ideas and your content across different platforms into images. I mean, maybe you're one of those people who is great at sketching clever little things. Put ideas from your book there. I mean, just find something that you're good at and that you enjoy and see what can I do that might be another interesting book marketing angle on this thing, using this thing I love doing anyway, so it becomes a win-win. You know?
Always. Well, let me give them a little tip before we go to our next break, because this is what I share with the group. There is, I was able to secure an app that costs 500 books for free for my unplugged participants. And it's made by AtSumo, and it's called Lumen 5, Lumen 5. They actually have a free version. So I'm going to encourage everyone to go to AppSumo, and click on, just do a search for Lumen, as in nickel, Lumen 5. Get the free version. Here's the repurpose. You take an old blog, you do a copy paste, you put it up, you highlight key lines in it, key sentences. It will automatically move it into a slide. It will pull from its 10,000 image gallery the keyword to try to match something up. If you don't like it, you can switch it out. And you will create a video blog out of it. And repurpose your full-blown, detailed written blog into snappy, sassy, maybe salty lines, and push it out this way, and voila, you have a video blog out of it. And that's a whole new way to push it, because, and here's the other thing I will advise everyone. We have 1 minute to our break here, but when you do videos of any sort, when you're resharing video, you do your own video, you create something like this, I would encourage you to make sure you run through it and time it. And then you can tell people, in this 90-second video, you will learn blah, 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 and help them out, because people will open things under 3 minutes. It's going to take too much longer on a video. They'll think about it and think about coming back to it, but then it's get lost. So if it's short, it's going to be sweeter. All right. So that's my tip for repurposing, Anne.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip.
Yeah. All right. So here we're going to take a quick break. Listen to our lovely sponsors who support us here, and they're all been vetted. They're excellent people to work with. And we're talking with Anne Janzer, and we're talking about how to make you snap, crackle, and pop and be successful as an author in all elements.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Want to publish like a pro today? Well, then take a look at Ingram Spark, the only publishing platform that offers print and ebook services through a single source. Upload, edit, and manage titles all in one place. Take more control of printing costs with print on demand, and reach even more readers through one of the world's most extensive distribution networks. Built by independent publishers for independent publishers, Ingram Spark has everything you need to maximize your book's potential: color printing, ebook distribution, print on demand, global reach, and more. Start publishing with Ingram Spark today and see just how far your titles will go tomorrow. That's ingramspark.com.
Many of us have dreamed of writing a book.
Some of us even have.
Then the hard work starts.
You'll need an editor.
Who will design the cover or typeset the pages?
Who will format the ebook?
If you're a business owner, consultant, or coach with a serious message and expertise to share, the team of experts at 1106 Design can guide you through the maze.
They've helped more than 1,000 authors create top-quality books and avoid the not-so-reputable self-publishing companies.
Learn more at 1106design.com.
Then call Michelle at 602-866-3226. 1106 Design.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so we've been talking about little bits, tidbits, and all those things. And one of the things I said to Anne during when I was talking to her offline during our break here is that one of the things I see experience time after time, it never fails, authors who get caught in the perfection loop. And Anne, I don't know if your authors experience that you work with, but mine sure do.
Yeah. Perfect is, everybody feels the pressure of perfect. Even if you're not, succumbing to it, you're feeling this pressure of trying to be perfect. Whether it's, getting the perfectly typo-free book out, which of course, we all try really hard to do, but still, inevitably, even the best proofers are going to miss something. To, running the perfect book launch to, perfect is a really tough taskmaster.
Well, perfect can lead to major depression, I think.
Yeah, and stress and depression, and because it's not of this world. We are not in a perfect world, so good luck with that. Yeah.
No, there's nothing perfect, and actually, sometimes the imperfect things can lead to some wonderful surprises. It doesn't so work out perfectly fine. But
even in my book marketing, the once or twice I've just made like a mistake in a marketing in a newsletter I've sent out to my list, and then it's like, an hour later it's like, oh, that link didn't work at all. I'm so sorry, or something, Mm-hmm. And I get great engagement because it's like, you're human. People send back. It's like, oh, that's so funny. I have all these wonderful conversations. Sometimes just, owning being a perfectly imperfect human is exactly the right thing to do.
I remember, Anne, we're talking years ago, years as in maybe 40 years ago. And I was working in a brokerage firm, and I was a secretary. I could barely type, but I was able to wing my way in. And I was working for a top producer, and he wanted me to do a mailing to all his clients. And I wanted to do it perfectly, all right?
Uh-huh.
So, I have all my labels. I have everything set up. I have, I've let the mailroom know we're going to have 1,000 pieces going out. And I did all that. And it all went out. And then Al came to me a few days later, and he said, "And what did you mail out to people?" And I said, "Well, that letter you did." And then it turned out I forgot to put the letter in.
Oh,
we sent out 1,000 blank envelopes, and Al said, This was brilliant, Judith. This was brilliant. I have people calling me saying, hey, I got your envelope and there was nothing in it. Is there something you wanted to tell me?
That's a great story.
Oh my
And
God.
that's such a great lesson. It's like, you know what? When imperfection happens, just go with it. Oh, God.
Well, you can't undo it. It is what it is. That's what we say.
Yeah.
All right, let's doing. I know that with your new book out, you had a launch. I've got a new book out this summer also, and I'm doing. What I love about the non-traditional market is that we can do what I call a rolling launch. That means you just keep it going. It's not.
Amen.
It's not one date. That's it. Blow it out, and maybe you do a little bit in the next couple of weeks. No, it's just kind of you keep supporting it for a period of time.
Yeah. I think, there was, if we go back, 20 years in traditional publishing, and even if you're traditionally published now with a big publisher who's selling to those retail bookstores, there is a real motivation for doing a big launch because the bookstores are only going to keep your book around for so long, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. And if it's not selling, they've got another carton of books coming in, right? So they're going to return your books to the publisher, right? So for those folks, there could be a real need to do a quick launch. But for those of us who are non-traditionally published, whether we are indie authors or working with a small press, a lot of our sales are going to be happening on Amazon. We know this.
The majority will.
Majority will. So time is on your side. It's not your enemy. It's actually your ally, right? Amazon's not going to say, oh, no, I'm taking down this book listing. No, they're not, And you can do a lot of things. Momentum is very powerful on Amazon. But remember this, the time is on your side. So you don't have to do the things that you think of in your head as a traditional book launch thing. Yeah, you can question those.
Yeah, and the other thing is that for Amazon, where we all were going for, the bestseller status and all that, and actually, I don't discourage that. I think that that's fine. If you can get that label, dang, get it. But what Amazon really wants to see is ongoing sales, as in rolling through. If they can say that they can see a few sales every day, they actually are quite happy.
Yes. And not only that, so here's the other thing. With when you feel the pressure of a traditional book launch, right, where you want to get a big number right out the door, you're going to get everybody. You're going to get your second cousin, and you're going to get your neighbors, and you're going to get, like, everybody to buy your book, right? Well, you're not feeding Amazon the right data about who really is the audience for that book. So if you are able to do a launch, so this is how I'm thinking about my book launch, is really launching it to very specific communities of people who I think this is going to provide a lot of value to, so that a lot of the initial sales come from people who are maybe in science or in scientific journalism and things like that, or in very specific, in technology, in very specific fields, so that they also bought books and behaviors that Amazon sees. They're going to look at the data and say, okay, I know exactly what kind of book this is. And because I know that, I'm going to give Anne some free advertising here and put her book up as an also bought. Or I'm going to give Anne some free direct mail and send people an email saying, hey, there's this new book you might be interested in, because they know how it sells. So that is, when Amazon's doing your marketing for you, life is good. That's a good thing, right? So that's another question. Yeah,
I had an author who Amazon did one of those push-outs, Anne, multiple times. That he wrote a memoir of his father, who was a pilot captain that was shot down in Europe in World War II, and they did multiple pushes out on this book, and all of a sudden I would get this email. Hey, if you're interested in military history, you want to get a copy of Shot Down, So
that's right. That's right.
And that cost, if you were to buy that kind of advertising, as just a blanket push that came unsolicited, you'd be spending a lot of money. So that's where that rolling out, you start creating that momentum of a few copies a day. Start getting people actually to say, maybe if you're going to do a campaign, you might want to do a blitz, but then start saying people, buy it on Monday, buy it on Tuesday. Wednesday's a great day to buy books.
Stagger it.
Yeah, stagger it, and you'll probably get more pop for your punch. Also, you need to learn about Amazon marketing ads and other tools like Bubblish and stuff that can create stuff and do other marketing arenas. So, I'm going to recommend that kind of thing to you. So, what are some of the differences, Anne, between, say, short-term wins and then the long-term objectives?
Yeah. So the short-term wins, so you and I have both seen this. You go and look at a book's page on Amazon, and they're in some really bizarre category like basket weaving. It's not a basket weaving book, right? And they did it to get that little bestseller thing in basket to be number one in their category, right? So that is a case of chasing a short-term win at the cost of long-term sales. Because Amazon might say, okay, hey, this is a bestseller. I'm going to push it to all these basket weavers. They show it to the basket weavers, and they're like, I don't want a military history book. What are you doing? And then nobody buys it, and Amazon's like, okay, lesson learned. Forget that. So that's a short-term win that can affect your long-term sales. Same thing, you can. There are all of these promotion sites, and they can be very valuable ways to shore up your launch. But again, if you don't have a lot of good data yet in Amazon in your book, and you put it out in a general promotion site to a lot of people who may not really be your ideal audience, then you can do yourself some longer term harm, even though you'll get a nice little boost of sales that day or those few days. You'll be like, awesome, I got some sales. I think that you either, when you have a very short-term focus, you are chasing sales and you're chasing data. When you have a long-term focus, you're trying to say, how can I give as much value to my target ideal audience as possible? Those are two really different things, right? There's actually some research, and I don't have the citation with me right now, but some psychologists had people play some word games. So that half the people played word games that were creating sentences based on random words, and the other half.
And hold your thought. And hold your thought. We'll come back to that. We have that final break, and we'll go back to the word games.
Okay, great.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd. If you want to create a book with no regrets, give her a call today. 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
One of the most important decisions you will ever make is your choice for printing your book. You are choosing a company which will be responsible for guiding you through the process and printing your book at a level of quality and detail that embraces your personal and creative needs. You want to choose a company that when your book finally arrives, you are delighted and ready to move on to the next level, and one that is customer focused. Choose King Printing Company and Addy Books to be that company that brings you to the next level. Go to kingprinting.com or call 978-458-2345 and ask for Tom Campbell.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so in our last quarter here, it's hard to believe things are whizzing by. But in the last quarter, we're talking about really the success of the book marketing and a book launch and the momentum, and really the beauty. Truly, it's the beauty of the non-traditional markets. That's all us self-published, independent published, small press, and that area that really don't have the timeline that a traditional publisher literally puts on. It used to be when I was publishing with New York. When I started publishing, it was back in 1981. And really, they gave a book a good 6 weeks to get some legs to it. That is not the case today. If your book doesn't start showing that it's got real good roots within 2 weeks, you may be yesteryear by the time that's up. But boy, we don't have to worry about that. So,
no, it's a blessing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a blessing. I think totally that way. So, Anne, what are some of the other tidbits? I mean, you're rolling out a new book this summer. I'm rolling out a new book this summer. I released it. I didn't even put any pressure on myself. Told a few people about it. I know sales have come in. I've gotten reorders from Amazon. But I just got it out there so people could know about it. And then actually, I am not going to start the push until November, if you can believe it.
There you go. I think that's brilliant. I mean, let's rethink this whole idea that we have to go out, go big. I mean, I'm trying to do a very phased kind of launch of my book. I'm going to in August just work on trying to sell it to these very distinct people to get the right sort of also bought books in it, and then gradually I will widen the scope of encouraging people to learn about it. And I'm kind of thinking of my launch as sort of a 90-day roll-up. And what I'd love to see is not a big launch, but what I'd love to see is that within 3 to 6 months, the book is, like you said, giving a consistent daily sales that is,
yes.
Books hit a point at which they start to feed themselves if it's a good book.
Yes.
So that's what I'm hoping it will hit.
Do something every day on it. So, I'll tell you my methodology is what I do with my webinars and all the stuff that I create copy for Facebook. Well, for webinars are different from marketing, but I create social media for every event I do. And some of it has, the loosey-goosey lag time until we get to early bird, if there's an early bird thing. And then an ongoing general type thing, and maybe there's more of an intensity that you're trying to do a push to it. But if you make enough generic stuff, and I'm not talking 3 tweets, I'm talking 20 to 30 tweets. I'm talking multiple Facebooks. I'm talking making posters to support it, and some comparisons to do it. I mean, it takes time to develop all of that. And when you do that, then you have kind of what we would call maybe a portfolio, a marketing portfolio that you can pull from. And it just without even thinking, it's called copy, paste. Okay, I can spend 10 minutes a day maybe doing a push out, and that's all I need. How cool is that? Yeah. But that's part of the setup.
It brings us back to the thing we talked about at the beginning, too, which is repurposing. You don't need 90 or 30 different posts or something, or 90 days of individual content. The same things can cycle through, reduce, reuse, recycle, your content. Right?
The other thing that you need hashtags with, you add the hashtags to them.
Yes, right. So, look across social media, look at the other thing I'm doing is taking some of the content that I like to keep my books, pretty brief. And so some things I decided were kind of diversions, or some interviews had to be pared way down. Well, that's some great content to use after the launch. It's things that I took out, but it's related to the book, or full interviews that I ended up not using. So I've got a bunch of content that's really meaty, interesting content that I'm going to, add to my portfolio of things that I'll use to support the book launch. Yeah.
Perfect. And then you have time to build up press releases, and you create a couple of press releases, and you of course you quote yourself, and the takeaways. But those are things that, they all take time to develop. And I had a terrific interview a couple of months ago with Erwin Zucker, who is, you talk about long in the tooth. He has been in the publicity business for almost 70 years. Can you imagine?
Wow.
He's 90 years old, all right? And the things he's saying, and here's what he said for authors today: you have to be a DIYer, period. Most authors cannot afford a full-blown publicist. And the reality is, you're going to be the one that has the passion and the drive, and you have to be the pusher for it and go to it. And he still said, by the way, the number one way to push a book out is radio.
Interesting. Yeah. So, that makes sense. I think radio and its contemporary cousin, which is to say the whole podcast thing, is a great way for a lot of authors to get out and interact with, or not interact with, but, to be present with their potential readers in a very personal way. I mean, they really get a sense of who you are when they hear you speak. And that might help them figure out if they are, in fact, your perfect buyer. There's another kind of book marketing, which I want to think about, which is, it's not exactly the publicity. It's marketing to those people who influence your readers. So, if you'd say, well, if it would cost me $6,000 to hire a publicist, and I don't have that, say, but maybe I know who like 100 or 50 people or 100 people are, who might be people who are influential to my audience. So here's an inexpensive thing to do instead of hiring that publicist. Get 100 author copies, 100 envelopes, write some notes, find 100 addresses, send your book off. Media rate is probably, it's probably going to be about,
$3 to $4. No more than
$4 for that, and $3 for the shipping. So seven. Maybe you'll spend $700 instead of $7,000. And if your book is good and you write a good note, that could do more for your book than going around and schlepping press releases to every newspaper or trying to do book signings or, So there's another, you can think creatively about ways to reach your audience. That's the key takeaway.
And it is the key takeaway. It's like I've got all my to-dos. I'm going, this summer I have been on a retreat. Actually, I'm repurposing one of my books. Making it more contemporary. I'm bringing it up to date. People have been hounding me to get out my book again, When God Says No, which opens on the death of my 19-year-old. And what happened and the morphing it did for so many kids that were with him when he died. And that, and I've been sitting on it. And then, here's when you're walking along and you're thinking and another wild idea comes into play. And I've been playing around with this other idea. And I'm actually, that's going away with me too, to work on, because it will be truly an evergreen book. And I love the idea of creating, and all of you, if you're not familiar with the phrase evergreen, Anne and I, love to work with authors who have evergreen, because that means their book doesn't die in a short period of time.
Right. And really most books, unless you're writing about something highly topical, most books really are evergreen. Technology books, maybe not, but you know what I mean. Most books really are pretty evergreen. So,
yes, they should be. And we have about 90 seconds left. Any other aha you want to add on for our listeners?
The one thing I would say, is this, to think creatively about different ways to do things, but at the same time, be compassionate with yourself, because perfection, you don't worry that you're not doing the perfect book marketing plan, because there isn't one, right? There's one that's going to be good enough, and you have time. I want everyone to just take a deep breath and say, this is okay. It's going to be fun, and I have time. Right? That's my secret message for everybody.
Exactly. And don't beat yourself up that your writing doesn't have the elegancy of, I remember when I read Seabiscuit, which is one of my favorite books, and Laura Hildebrand's, and oh my God, I fell in love with this horse. I never thought, I loved the horse. And her writing was so exquisite. I don't have her gift. I have other gifts. And I think that you need to recognize your gifts, honor your gifts, and you go with those, and don't get caught up with trying to be something else. That's where a good editor will come in and help you fix things. But stay with your own words. That would be my advice.
That's great advice.
All right, Anne Janzer, thank you so much for being with us again on AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing.
Thanks, Judith. I had a great time.
All right. Take care, everyone. Happy writing, happy publishing. We'll be with you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles.